What if the real key to understanding our mental health wasn't just in what we say, but in all those tiny digital breadcrumbs we leave behind every single day? Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating new frontier, where AI is learning to read the invisible signs of our minds. And honestly, it could completely change how we diagnose and treat mental illness. This really gets at the heart of the problem psychiatry has faced for, well, over a century. Unlike a broken bone you can just see on an X-ray, mental health has always been assessed through subjective things, what we tell our doctor and what they can see. And that can be inconsistent and sometimes, even biased.
All right, take a look at this number, 227. Now, what could that possibly mean? Well, in the world of mental health, this number points to a really deep and complex problem. Get this, that's the number of different ways two people can both be diagnosed with depression and yet share almost no symptoms in common. It's pretty wild, right? This incredible variety just shows how complex and, frankly, how imprecise our current system can be. It's kind of like trying to describe a rainbow using only shades of gray. So this is the core dilemma right here. The traditional way of diagnosing relies so heavily on what people say about themselves and what a clinician observes. And look, that stuff is super valuable, but it just doesn't have the objective biomarkers we see in other fields of medicine. It makes getting a clear, consistent picture of what's really going on pretty tough.
But what if an objective biomarker was literally sitting in your pocket right now? This is the radical new idea behind a field called digital phenotyping. Researchers are finding out that our digital devices, our phones, our watches, are constantly gathering data that can give us these powerful, objective insights into our mental state. The key concept here is what they call observable cues. And the best way to think of them is as these little digital traces we leave behind just by living our lives. This isn't about what you choose to post on social media. It's the raw data of your behavior, how you talk, how you move, even your heart rate. It's a trail of digital breadcrumbs that could lead to a much deeper understanding of our well-being. And these cues, they fall into a few key buckets. First, you've got language use, the actual words and themes that we use. Then there's speech patterns, so not just what we say, but how we say it, the pace, the tone, all of it. Then there's physiology, stuff from our wearables like heart rate. And finally, digital behavior, which is everything from our GPS location patterns to how often we're unlocking our phones. So how do we make sense of all this data? I mean, human could never track all these subtle signals. But you know what can? AI. It can sift through massive amounts of this information to find hidden patterns, these unique digital signatures that are linked to different mental health conditions. Okay, let's just start with language, because this is fascinating. AI analysis shows some really striking differences. People with depression, for instance, tend to use more first-person pronouns like I and me, along with more negative words. It shows this internal, kind of ruminative focus. Now contrast that with those with BPD, who often use more impersonal third-person pronouns, focusing more on external factors and social stuff.
And this goes way beyond just the words we use. It shows up in our behavior and speech, too. Depression is often marked by this sort of digital slowdown, slower, monotonous speech, moving around less social engagement online. Anxiety, on the other hand, might show up as avoidance, like staying away from public places. And with BPD, you might see these ambivalent social cues, a sort of push and pull in interaction.
Okay, but here's where it gets even more interesting. It's not just about the differences. Researchers found that some of these cues actually pop up across multiple disorders. And that hints at something much deeper going on beneath the surface of our current diagnoses. For example, take monotonous speech and reduced heart rate variability, which is basically a measure of how well your nervous system can adapt to stress. Both of those are found in depression, anxiety, and BPD. And that's a huge deal. It suggests these conditions might actually share some underlying biological pathways, which could help us completely rethink the categories we use in psychiatry. So this technology is packed with incredible potential. But, and this is a big but, it also comes with some really serious questions. We're kind of at a crossroads where we have to balance all this amazing promise of innovation with the very real peril of misuse. So let's talk about the promise first, because it's huge. Number one, earlier detection. Imagine AI spotting warning signs long before a person even realizes they need help. Second, continuous monitoring. So instead of a check-in every few weeks, doctors could track symptoms in real time. And third, truly personalized care, with treatments tailored to an individual's unique digital signature. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote from the researchers themselves really sums it up perfectly. They say, observable, digitally measurable cues provide objective, clinically relevant insights across psychiatric disorders. This isn't just theory. It's about getting real, meaningful information that can actually help people.
But like we said, we have to be really, really careful here. The challenges are not small. There are huge questions about data privacy and how to build algorithms that are fair and not biased. Plus, the research is still new, especially for certain conditions, and you have to account for things like medication that could affect the data. These are all things that have to get worked out for this to be used responsibly.
So it all comes down to this really powerful question. The data trails we're creating every single second could hold the keys to a brand new era of mental health care, one that's objective, proactive, and deeply personal. The challenge for us now is to unlock that potential, safely and ethically. In the end, could our digital selves actually help heal our real selves?